In the North Atlantic, circa 1000 CE, winter unleashed its fury. Towering waves, the size of buildings, crashed relentlessly against the wooden longships. Temperatures plummeted below freezing, encasing rigging in ice, solidifying beards, and turning breath into fleeting crystals in the frigid air. For weeks on end, these Viking crews braved conditions that would prove fatal to a modern person in mere hours. They had no cabins to retreat to, no walls to shield them from the elements, and most incredibly, no way to light a fire. This begs the question, how did Viking crews manage to survive voyages across some of the most treacherous waters on Earth without any heating aboard their ships? The answer is poised to completely overturn your understanding of Viking maritime technology. Excavations conducted at 8 major ship sites have revealed a startling truth. Vikings never heated their ships. No braziers, no hearths, no fire of any kind. This wasn't due to some primitive oversight or lack of knowledge. It was a deliberate engineering decision that prioritized safety above all else. The strategies they employed were so effective that they facilitated the conquest of nations and the discovery of continents. The story begins with a fundamental maritime reality, one that Hollywood often gets wrong. Fire and wooden ships are inherently incompatible. When you're sailing in a vessel constructed entirely of pine, oak, and tarred rope, a single spark can jeopardize everything, not just the crew's warmth. But how can we be certain that Vikings actually sailed without fire? The evidence lies within the ships themselves, preserved for 1,000 years, waiting to share their secrets. The most compelling evidence comes from Roskilde Fjord, where the famed Skuldelev ships lay hidden for nearly a millennium. These 5 Viking vessels, including warships, cargo nars, and fishing boats dating from 1000 to 1070 CE, were meticulously excavated by the Viking Ship Museum. Researchers unearthed water barrels, tool chests, ballast stones, and even traces of preserved food. However, one critical detail prompted researchers to double-check their findings. Across all 5 vessels, representing a variety of ship types and purposes, not a single heating device was found. No brazier, no hearth, absolutely nothing that could produce heat. This pattern holds true at every major Viking ship discovery. The Oseberg ship, dating back to 834 CE, contained elaborate cooking vessels, but these were burial goods intended for the afterlife, never used at sea. The Gokstad ship from 890 CE featured impressive water storage systems, but no cooking facilities whatsoever. Even the recent Gjellestad excavation of 2020 to 2021, which employed ground-penetrating radar and state-of-the-art scanning techniques, revealed no evidence of cooking or heating apparatus. The sagas corroborate these findings. Norwegian legal texts, preserved in the Gragas law codes, mandated 3 daily shore trips for ship's cooks, 1 for water collection and 2 for meal preparation. The Eyrbyggja saga describes drawing lots to determine who would prepare food for the ship. However, this refers to shore-based preparation, not cooking on board. So the evidence strongly suggests that Vikings did not use fire at sea. But why endure such brutal cold rather than risk even a controlled flame? The answer lies in the terrifying reality of wooden ship fires. Viking vessels employed clinker-built construction, featuring overlapping planks sealed with tar, gaps filled with animal hair and wool, and rigging waterproofed with pine pitch. The sail itself, a densely woven wool treated with animal fat for water resistance, was essentially a giant torch waiting to ignite. The real danger, however, lay in the completely open design of the ships. Unlike later vessels with enclosed decks, Viking ships were essentially large, open boats. They had no bulkheads, no fire breaks, and no means of containing a blaze. Maritime archaeology studies suggest that a fire under such conditions could engulf an entire vessel in less than 4 minutes. Ship construction made onboard fires extremely dangerous. Every surface was composed of highly flammable materials. Physical remains from all major excavations reveal no fire-resistant installations, metal hearths, or protective systems that would have enabled safe shipboard heating. For Vikings, fire meant certain destruction. If Vikings couldn't use fire, and they were trapped on frozen seas for weeks without heat, how did they possibly survive? The answer involved a radical reimagining of warmth itself. Archaeological textile evidence from sites like Herjolfsnes in Greenland reveals sophisticated layered clothing systems that could retain warmth even when wet, a critical advantage over many modern materials. Vikings developed different wool grades for different purposes, including wind resistance, insulation, and moisture management. The most remarkable discovery comes from preserved clothing finds and saga descriptions. Vikings practiced daily sleeve modifications for maximum heat retention. According to the Laxdæla saga, women crew members would use bone needles and waxed thread to sew men's sleeves tightly shut at the wrists each morning. Not tied, not buttoned, sewn shut. This created an airtight seal that prevented heat loss. Before combat or landing, warriors would cut themselves free with their sea axes, large, single-edged knives. This daily ritual was part of a revolutionary textile technology. Greenlandic burial sites reveal specialized winter garments, including sealskin outer layers for maritime crews, fur-lined clothing made from wolf and bear pelts, and evidence of this sleeve modification practice in preserved garments. This layering system was incredibly sophisticated, even by modern standards. Each layer worked in concert to create what researchers call a portable microclimate. But even this advanced clothing couldn't maintain body heat during long hours of sleep. That's when Vikings deployed their most ingenious innovation. Forget Hollywood's image of Vikings wrapped in individual furs. The reality was far more intimate and effective. Vikings utilized communal sleeping systems, a practice documented in multiple saga sources. The Egil's saga describes shared sleeping arrangements using what the sagas refer to as waterproof skin bags, likely the hudfat, mentioned in the Prose Edda. These were two-person sleeping bags made of sheepskin with a fur lining, designed not for privacy, but for survival. Two bodies in an insulated space generate compounded heat. These bags could maintain internal temperatures 15 to 20 degrees warmer than the outside air using only body heat. Winter campsite discoveries demonstrate that these weren't luxury items, but standard maritime equipment. Crews were assigned sleeping partners based on watch schedules, as documented in the Landnamabok, the Book of Settlements. When one sailor stood watch, his body heat warmed the shared space. When they switched, the second man entered an already warm environment. The sleeping area never cooled completely. The sleeping arrangement itself demonstrated thermal genius. Ship reconstructions suggest that crews slept between rowing benches on platforms created from stored oars, staying above the coldest bilge air. The sail, when lowered, became a tent over the entire vessel, trapping warm air from dozens of bodies. Even wealthy Vikings shared these communal arrangements. Ship leaders received no special heating privileges. Survival requirements superseded social distinctions during voyages. Maintaining body heat in such conditions required enormous calories from food that couldn't be cooked. Vikings consumed preserved food specifically designed for cold consumption, a practice documented across trading post excavations. Sites in Hedeby revealed the preparation techniques: dried fish that remained edible for months, ship's biscuits, nut bread that wouldn't spoil in salt spray, and cold porridge systems prepared before departure. The porridge system, described in the Islendinga saga, was particularly ingenious. Cooks would prepare massive quantities with added butter and salt for preservation. This mixture would congeal into a nutrient-dense paste that could be eaten directly or mixed with cold water. These provisions supplied the 2,000 to 3,000 calories per day, essential for cold weather survival. York site excavations showcase the scale of this provisioning, with massive stores of dried fish, hardtack biscuits, and fermented dairy products designed for extended voyages without cooking. But where did Vikings develop such sophisticated systems? The answer lies in their extensive infrastructure on land. Vikings weren't continuously at sea. Recent coastal surveys have uncovered extensive harbor networks for regular shore stops. Over 200 documented sites from Norway to Newfoundland have been catalogued by the Viking Ship Museum's Coastal Archaeology project. The scale of these operations only became clear with modern excavations. Research at Torksey, England, by the Universities of Sheffield and York from 2009 to 2017, revealed the true nature of these bases. Winter camps spanning over 55 hectares with proper hearth systems, workshops, and family accommodations. These heating stations supported entire fleet operations through proper warming and food preparation, activities impossible at sea. On land, Vikings possessed complex cooking technology that archaeological evidence suggests never made its way onto ships. These digs uncover riveted iron pots with integrated tripod systems, specialized suspension chains for hearth cooking, and soapstone vessels with superior thermal properties. These systems were exclusively used during beached operations. Viking longhouse designs from sites like Borg in the Lofoten Islands demonstrate an advanced understanding of airflow patterns, smoke evacuation, and efficient central hearth placement. Yet, these innovations never appeared in shipboard applications due to fundamental safety constraints. Vikings possessed the technology for shipboard heating, yet they deliberately chose not to use it. But why choose calculated discomfort when other cultures found heating solutions? While Vikings sailed without fire, Mediterranean cultures had developed onboard cooking systems by 600 CE. Roman naval archaeology has revealed ships with bronze braziers and specialized charcoal stoves. Byzantine vessels included dedicated galley areas with chimney systems and proper ventilation, all documented through underwater excavations in the Mediterranean. Vikings weren't unique among Northern Europeans in avoiding shipboard fires. Anglo-Saxon and Frisian maritime archaeology, studied extensively by researchers at Cambridge and Groningen universities, shows nearly identical patterns. No shipboard heating systems, reliance on cold provisions, and shore-based cooking strategies. But Mediterranean innovations didn't spread northward due to differences in construction methods and climate priorities. Vikings made a calculated trade-off. Eliminating heating equipment saved cargo capacity and achieved superior speed, both critical advantages for raids and swift escapes. Could modern sailors survive the same conditions using authentic Viking methods? Modern experimental archaeology confirms that Viking techniques are effective. The 2007 Sea Stallion voyage from Roskilde to Dublin, using an authentic Sculdelev reconstruction, proved that properly equipped crews using historical methods can survive extended cold water sailing without any heating systems. The expedition, documented by the Viking Ship Museum, demonstrated that shared sleeping arrangements, communal clothing maintenance, and coordinated watch rotations were essential for cold weather survival. The combination of appropriate wool clothing, social warming techniques, and weather management kept crew core body temperatures in safe ranges even during North Sea crossings in challenging conditions. These physical systems required psychological support strategies that proved equally important for survival. Evidence from over 50 Viking camps contained more than 300 gaming pieces, dice, board games, and carved entertainment items. According to researchers at the Museum of Cultural History in Oslo, crews invested significant time in social activities during harsh conditions. These weren't mere entertainment, but deliberate psychological strategies that complemented physical warming techniques. Gaming, storytelling, and organized competition helped crews endure discomfort by maintaining morale. Vikings understood intuitively that mental state directly affected physical endurance, what we now recognize as psychological thermogenesis. Strategic voyage planning also minimized psychological stress. Vikings generally avoided winter sailing entirely, operating within carefully calculated weather windows that made survival achievable rather than heroic. They timed voyages to coincide with seasonal patterns, maximizing shore contact rather than enduring endless cold exposure. The Vikings conquered the North Atlantic, not despite their lack of shipboard heating, but because of their decision to reject it entirely. Archaeological evidence from 8 major excavations definitively establishes that Vikings did not heat their ships during voyages. This wasn't a technological limitation, but a calculated safety engineering decision. Vikings prioritized vessel integrity and crew survival over onboard comfort. Their remarkable success stemmed from sophisticated non-heating strategies, advanced wool technology that functioned even when wet, ingenious social warming systems using shared body heat, strategic voyage planning with extensive shore-based infrastructure, and comprehensive provisioning systems designed for cold consumption. Rather than hardy warriors enduring constant harsh conditions, Vikings were strategic maritime engineers, who developed sustainable solutions for cold weather navigation. They balanced mobility, safety, and crew welfare through careful planning and innovative social cooperation, not brute endurance. Vikings reached North America 500 years before Columbus. They established trade routes from Greenland to Constantinople. They shaped medieval Europe through maritime dominance. They achieved it all in open boats, deliberately choosing to sail without fire. Imagine a winter's day when the icy wind cuts straight through your coat and you instinctively reach for the heater in your car. The Vikings had no such luxury. They willingly gave up every comfort, no fire, no warmth, no illusion of safety. Instead, they chose a different path, to turn hardship into strength. For them, the cold was not an enemy, but an invisible battlefield where their will was forged. They placed strategy above comfort and collective survival above personal need. The Vikings did not merely endure the North Atlantic winter. They transformed the ice itself into part of their survival system through cooperation, discipline, and organizational genius. That choice made them an unstoppable force, reaching the edges of the known world and redrawing the map of human history.